Hi everyone, my name is Christabel Netondo. I am a CoP champion with the Youth Engagement Community of Practice from Nairobi, Kenya, and I also work with IDO.org. I welcome all to the session today. Perhaps we'd go to our agenda for today to know why you are here and what you hope to achieve by the end of the session today. So our agenda for the call today is just to ensure that you members have an idea of the tool that you're working on, know the progress and the highlights that we have so far, and then to also introduce our focus group members who have been key in really advancing the tool, in giving in their input and contributions. And then we also hope to present the progress, that is the highlight, the gaps, and why this tool is important and how it can assist you in your programming working with young people. And then we also intend to share, aligning it to the tool, the suggested additions where members felt like we need to improve or we need to tone down on the tool. And then also just to share a work plan of where we are, the ways of working and the next steps when it comes to finalizing this tool and working with the focus group members. So yeah, that is our agenda for the session today. Yeah, and in terms of the objectives, we hope to achieve that by the end of the session, we would have introduced the members involved in the working group. We had incredible volunteers who decided to join us and support us in advancing this tool that you're working on as a COP. Also to share the progress of the tool development process, where we are, what are the gaps, what have been the pain points. So all that is going to be shared in this group. And then to also gain your feedback as COP members on the key issues presented, because as part of your deliverable as a COP member is to share input, resources, and expertise when it comes to working on a resource in the COP. So we intend to also acquire your feedback on the key issues that will be presented with regards to the tool. And then yes, to obviously invite other members to join the working group and just push this agenda of advancing meaningful youth engagement. So that is what we aim to achieve by the end of the session today as part of our objectives. So perhaps I'll hand it over to my colleague Farida to just take on the next session. Over to you, Farida. And keep introducing yourself on the chat. If you're new, your name, organization, and where you're joining us from. Over to you, Farida. Thank you.
Thank you, Christabel. So the next part, we'll be introducing the working group. So just to give you a context, I've shared a link on the chat box of the tool that we are referencing. I hope that everybody had an opportunity to click on it. You don't have to go through it now, but that's for your information. So we had set up a working group to help us identify some of the ways we can strengthen this tool, and also come up with how can we use it, how can it be helpful for everybody working with young people and with an interest to increase youth engagement. So maybe if we can go to the slide, we will share the names. We currently have 9 members in the working group that have been quite active in sharing their expertise and feedback, and we'll be presenting some of the work that they've already done. So these are basically the names of the people. I'm not sure if some of them are here today. Let me see. So these are our members, and we've been very grateful that we've been working with them for the past few weeks, and also being actively engaging in the website. So next we're going to go to talk about what these members have been able to achieve in this period. And if we go to the next slide. So what we have been able to do so far with your representative, the COP members representative forming the working group, is we've been able to identify the additions that can be made to the guidance document, the link that has been shared by myself and Christabel as well. So the members, the working group have reviewed it, and then they came up with some suggestions. And then we agreed on a work plan. How do we intend to lead this process all the way to September, where we hope to have a deliverable by the end of September. And we already had 2 biweekly calls, which have been very productive. And it's through these biweekly calls, we were able to come up with some of the content that we'll be presenting today. So thank you. And if we can go to the next slide. Now, once the members had a review of the guiding document, they came up with these 6 suggestions. For this call, we will not go into details of the 6 suggestions, but we will be sharing them into the discussion board if anyone is interested, but also this recording will be made available so you can go back to it if you wish to at a later stage to join the working group and contribute. So we will not go into details, but we will now share some of the things within the suggestions that has been already worked on. And one of the biggest things is the meaningful youth engagement definition. So if we go to the next slide. So in the past, we have had a definition of meaningful youth engagement, and it is also available in the Youth Power website, and we've shared it in previous calls, I think also in the discussion forum. But what has come out of this process is the members have felt that maybe we could strengthen that meaningful youth engagement definition. And one of the things that were recommended is having a clarity on the meaning of an adult, because it felt like for a person, for example, the guidance tool has 3 different audiences, and young people are among the audience that can use the guidance document. So then it was felt like we need to be able to define who is an adult. Currently, the tool puts the adult as part of their enabling environment, but it felt like we need to be more explicit. But there are also concerns of including issues of ethics and safeguarding, but also recognizing that power shifting also means young people having the power to opt in and opt out of any engagement at any point. So this is something that the members will be working to incorporate into the meaningful youth engagement definition that we have. So if you do not have the meaningful youth engagement definition, I wonder if Christabel is able to get that link quickly, but if not, it is in the discussion forum. And later on, when we tell you about how to join, if you have not joined yet, you'll be able to go back to past discussions and find it. Or you can also reach out to us and we can provide it to you. So this is one of the outputs the members have been able to do so far in the 2 biweekly calls that we've had. And the next output that we are able to come up with, if we go to the next slide, is when we looked at the guidance document, the members felt like we need to be able to clearly define the role and the type of engagement. And they made suggestions on what those definitions would look like. So in meaningful youth engagement, the members felt like, okay, there's different levels that young people can be engaged. That could be as a participant, a collaborator, or a leader. But then we felt like for the tool, we'll need to have a definition so that people would know when we are saying participant, collaborators, or leaders, what do we mean? And I think one of our working group member was kind enough to be able to share this from different sources. I'm not sure if she's here today. Was it Michelle? So this is what we came up. We said as a participant, as you can read through that, is, at this level, the engagement is not too much. It's at the level of being informed, what they need to do, being consulted throughout the way, and adults recognizing the youth perspective, acknowledging their contribution and experience. But when we move to the collaborator, it's more about considering young people as a resource and a partner in that process. So they're contributing more actively now in the whole development of either projects or policies. And then in a leadership role is more of an equal partnership in terms of also power sharing, being able to be part of the decision-making process. So we will not go into details, but overall, that's the kind of insight that we had in our course, and it's also the proposal that we are putting forward in terms of having that as an addition. And then we go to the next slide, and some other output that we managed to get in the biweekly calls with the working group is being able to categorize. If you look at that tool where we shared the links, we have a number of standards as statements categorized as youth level or organizational level or enabling environment. So the members felt that we might need to further clarify those standards and define them, whether they are a process standard or an outcome standard or a relationship standard. And in defining what a process outcome relationship is, this is what the members have contributed in terms of the meaning for those processes. So I think in terms of an overview, this is what we have been able to achieve, and this is what we are sharing to the group to say, this is some of the definitions we're coming up with. And also this is where we'll be looking for your input to see from your expertise, what do you think, what suggestions do you have? And I will Christabel to kind of lead us to the next part where we're going to have a discussion and contribution and open up really to the members now to kind of also feed into this meeting. And if you're new to Meaningful Youth Engagement, you can just let us know there so that we can also point you to more resources so you're also up to speed after the call.
Okay, thanks a lot, Farida. So based on what Farida has presented, we're now going to open it up to a plenary discussion to just get to know from you members what are some of the tools that can help us achieve the objectives of the working group? What do you think about the progress so far? How can we pivot better when it comes to the definition of meaningful youth engagement and categorization of the standards, be it the process, outcome, or the relationship, as well as the defining the role or the type of engagement for young people as collaborators, participants, or leaders. So we'll just want to open it up to you members to get your questions and feedback on how we could further improve this tool that we're working on.
Thank you, Christopher. I think there's a question from Anna there, and was it Michelle who was able to share the source for this definition? I can't remember whether it was Michelle or Maureen. Michelle, I can see you on the call.
Yeah, you were asking who had done the classification of the participant, collaborator, leader. I had shared the UNICEF document to kind of look at those definitions, but Maureen was the one who put the wording together for each of those levels.
Yes, and I just put in the chat the link to that UNICEF document about adolescent and youth participation, which Michelle had shared with us. I did borrow from that. I also borrowed from some descriptions from Hart's Ladder of Participation. So it's kind of a combination.
Thank you. I've just added in the chat box the Hart's Ladder. So you can just Google it, Anna, and you should be able to also get more information about what Maureen and Michelle have just contributed. Thank you. Sorry, I interrupted somebody. Please go ahead.
Oh, sorry. This is Kim from Food for the Hungry, and we're in the midst of discussing youth engagement, so I'm really happy to be here today. And do you mind going back to that previous slide with the 3 definitions? Okay, there. Actually, the ones with the standards. Yeah. So regarding relationship, I haven't been on previous calls, so apologies if this is a repeat, but the Search Institute really has some great outcome level data on their concept of developmental relationships that might really feed well into this. And they have linked behaviors, positive or what they call thriving behaviors and high-risk behaviors, to the quality of relationships that they've studied over many years. So they really do have a great framework, the developmental relationships framework. So that's the Search Institute. It's based here in the United States, but there's international NGOs that are applying their work. I think, oh yes, I can provide the link for you. I think Mercy Corps, Save the Children, World Vision, and then Food for the Hungry is going to be working on that as well. I also wanted to point out, in case this wasn't something you'd come across, but Michigan State University, and I can put the link in there, and then I'll get the one for the developmental relationships. They have this one called the Youth Adult Partnership Rubric. That's it right there. And I've been looking at that, not in its sort of fullness. They're sort of, you're allowed to use it online and submit your data for your own program based here in the United States, but it might be something to build off of. And it's really focuses on the quality of the relationship, the degree of decision-making, and it gives it a kind of numerical score. So it's intended to be filled out, I believe, by the youth themselves to measure whether or not they think that they are participating fully in a conversation. And they have examples of what the value that they're looking for in the relationship. So let's say it's youth and adults are partners in making decisions. That's probably not exactly well worded, but that's the kind of idea. And then they have examples from a meeting. So let's say that youth are gathered for a leadership council or something together with adults, how that would look like in that setting, or in an activity. So let's say that youth and adults are doing like peer education together, for example. And so I found it really helpful to start thinking through those concepts. But I'll give you the Search Institute link in just a second when I get that.
Okay, thanks a lot, Kimberly, for that input. I think that would something that our focus group members can reference to as we continue to improve the tool so far, and just trying to define this categorization. Thanks a lot. Yeah, I'll open it up still to the members. If you have any contributions with regards to the tool, where we could improve, yeah, feel free to unmute and you can voice it out.
This is Michelle from CRS. I just had a question relating to this last categorization of a relationship. My understanding was that would be kind of vis-a-vis, you know, someone else, whereas here in this definition, it seems more like something more related to what you see in the process side, where it's kind of just focused on kind of the improvements and agency of the young person, and kind of this looks like a PYD or kind of life skills. And so kind of just one relational. And I thought this definition would be more of kind of, yeah, that bond, a membership, things around membership and belonging, more so than what I see here. I don't know if there's other comments on that.
Thank you, Michelle. Maybe if you can elaborate a little bit more so that we can also capture it and use it as an input during the working group. Like, if you can give more, I can hear that you gave some examples, but maybe are you able to, yeah.
I'm just trying to even, yeah, trying to think what my own personal maybe definition would be. And I'd probably want to go to, you know, back to PYD language and look under the categories of membership or sense of belonging. But I would think the language that's in those kind of categories would better fit something here than these are kind of more around, like, from a PYD lens, you know, the agency and assets categories.
Okay. All right, thanks. We will put that as a note, and we will also feed that back into the working group to refer to that. If you have a link, it will also be helpful so that we can also point people to the different perspectives.
Yeah, if I could just add to that. Hi, everybody. This is Maria. I work at the Rainforest Alliance. I agree with the point you were just making. It does seem that the language under process and outcome is very different than the language that's under the category for relationship. Yeah, it kind of seems like it's you know, sort of defining why relationships are important for young people versus the language under the process and outcomes category is more about the measurement of those relationships. So I do think that there needs to be, yeah, a little more clarity under that relationship category. I agree with that comment.
Yeah, thanks Maria for that. Something that we'll put it into consideration. Perhaps Katie, if you could go back to the slide on defining meaningful youth engagement. Yes. Yes, thanks. We already have a definition of youth engagement as defined by the YP2LE. And so what we're trying to do, just as Farida had mentioned, is to fill in some of the things that we felt are missing. And we tried to modify it, and we realized that issues around ethics, safeguarding, consent really have not been included in that definition. And so that's one of the pivoting points that we have. Perhaps if members, you have any addition on that, things that we could consider when trying to now ensure that the definition of meaningful youth engagement not only makes sense to the program designers, but also makes sense to the young people themselves when they're being told you have to be engaged meaningfully, and they're being told this is the definition. Like, it has to make sense to them as well. Perhaps things that members, the focus group members, could consider. Yeah, I'll feel free to unmute and just share your input. Thanks.
So in the chat box, in case people have not seen this before, I've shared that definition that is being worked on. And this is the original definition that's already available in a different tool that we have shared in the discussion forum, and we can share it again for any interested members. But basically this is the definition that is there, and this is the kind of modification that has been or suggested.
Yeah, sorry, I was just rereading it. I wonder if, yeah, maybe just my one addition in the design and delivery of programs, maybe also add the monitoring and evaluation of programs. I mean, I don't know if that's explicit in the design, but might be good to add that in.
I'd also add research in there. I mean, maybe that's implicit in some of those words, but I find that to be sometimes, you know, the beginning phase of a project, and we need to ensure that young people are engaged in researching some of the issues that affect them too.
Thank you, everybody. We will keep on taking the notes.
I mean, maybe just a thought, I guess, thinking about what you were mentioning earlier about this is a definition that young people are also going to, you know, read and feel represented in. It is very much written in the kind of from the perspective of the practitioner who's trying to have meaningful youth engagement. So I don't think that's, you know, good or bad, but just, you know, thinking about your point earlier about that young people will also kind of read and relate to this definition. Yeah, might be interesting to consider that with, you know, kind of the voice of the statements.
Yeah, thanks for that, Ad. Yeah. Okay, so as still members ponder, we can still go back if something comes up and you feel like you need to share, you could just drop it on the chat and perhaps you could delve into that. Perhaps Katie, if you could go to the next slide, please. Yeah, thanks, Farida. Just building up on what you've shared, I've shared a link on the chat to the Jamboard. There, if you're not confident to voice out your thoughts, you could actually just type in there. That is on slide 9 and 10. Yeah. Like what could be improved when it comes to maybe the level of engagement, how we've defined a meaningful youth engagement, and also the categorization of the standards.
Yeah, we can also have like members, especially for people joining us for the first time, and also the ones that have been ongoing contributing. If you can also share like, what are some of the challenges that you've had in ensuring you have a meaningful youth engagement, and what do you think has been overlooked? Because all of this, we can use it to build up on how do we better make sure that we have a tool that helps everybody to better engage young people. Thank you everyone for sharing all these links. We'll be taking them on as a resource. Also, you can also use the Jamboard to kind of also share, you can share like your suggestions, you can share some of the challenges you've been experiencing working in meaningful youth engagement. You can also share like what has been overlooked. So just feel free to put in your opinions there, and then we will be using this as a resource to inform the working group. Thank you, Maria. So Maria has shared their youth participatory action. Are you comfortable, Maria, to kind of give an overview about this youth participatory action research?
Sure. A lot of it has to do with the community health field. I'm certainly not an expert at this, but I like this tool from Berkeley University, and it's basically around training young people to be the ones that are both designing the research questions and then collecting the data. So kind of, yeah, having them be leading on research.
Okay, thank you. Okay, maybe we can move on to the next step, Christabel.
Sure, thanks. Thanks, members, for sharing your comments. Of course, we'll keep on incorporating and just iterating where we are with the focus group members. And you can still share your inputs via our discussion forum. It's still open for engagement when it comes to sharing these resources and sharing your comments on the youth engagement community of practice. So in terms of the next steps, next slide, please. Yeah, in terms of the next step, we are hoping that if you are still interested in to now delve deeper into improving this tool further, you could actually just join our focus group discussions, which normally held bi-weekly. So far, we've had 2 of them, and that's what has led to our call today. So if you're interested in joining, contributing expertise, experience, working with young people in designing these programs, you could join our focus group to advance this tool further. And we are looking at September to deliver this tool. So we hope that your contributions will still be valued and acknowledged. And then we also encourage more with regards to the joining the focus group, emphasis on young people themselves, because this tool, if it's meant to engage young people, we need to walk the talk by ensuring that more young people are joining the focus group to just also share their lived experience and technical experience on how this tool can further be improved. So we are hoping to have the next call on the 2nd of September as per the focus group members, and then the other call on the 16th. And then by the end of September, that is on the 23rd, is when we'll have our final call for year 2 as a community of practice. So we hope that by the next call in September, which will be our final call for year 2, is that's when we'll be presenting this planning tool to the rest of the COP members to have an input and hopefully for it to get approved. So that is what we have in terms of the next step. So if you want to join, you could just send an email to myself, Christabel, and Farida. I think Farida will share our emails on chat. We could always invite you to our sessions and also to the working documents that we are collaboratively working with other members asynchronously. So that is it for the next steps on how we can further improve the tool. Perhaps you could go to the next slide. Yeah, so how do you engage? Apart from joining the working group, you could also push the conversation into the discussion forum and also just share any additional or reference material that we have. So I'll give it back. I see Maureen Hans is up. I don't know if you have anything to share.
Yeah, just briefly, I really want to reiterate Farida's mention of the welcome to other people to join the focus group. We've had kind of a small group and not always the same people participating. And the more people we have joining us in that group and helping us with their knowledge and experience would be really wonderful. So I just really want to reiterate that. I know it's a time commitment, but not too many meetings to go. So we'd really appreciate if more people are interested in joining. Thanks.
Thanks, Maureen, for the emphasis. Thanks a lot. So our emails have been shared on the chat. Myself, Christabel, and Farida. So we'll just invite you to our calls and update you on the documents that we work on asynchronously. Yeah, and perhaps I'll hand it over back to Farida to close for us the session today.
Thank you, Christabel. Maybe before we move into closing, we still have some time. If people if you feel like you want to, also you have reflection about what we have presented as next steps, if you have any suggestions, also a call from Sarah, like we need more people to join in to share their experience, their expertise, the resources that you have. So if you have any suggestion or concerns, maybe feel free to, because we have a bit of time, to kind of chip in what you feel or what you think would help the working group so that we get a consistent input from everybody. So far, we'll be using the meetings, the bi-weekly meetings like Christabel has presented, but we also have the discussion forum going on. But we're also interested to hear from you, like what other ways can we engage? And we want to get as much participation from the members, because this is member-led. And also know that nothing is set in stone. We're always very flexible. The working group is very flexible to new ideas, also as long as it's going to improve and fit with the objectives of what we want to achieve until September.
I just have a super quick just process note. For just me personally, it's helpful when I have time to digest things in advance of a meeting. So I wonder if there's any way that, when we have this type of discussion where you're going to be sharing something for input, that we kind of receive it a couple of days in advance, just to be able to look over and provide a little bit more meaningful feedback. That for me would be super helpful.
Thank you. We normally use the discussion forum. So Christabel will also say, like, how do we join the discussion forum? But we are also open to new ways to share that. So you can share your email there and we'll keep you posted about that. Maureen has a hand up. Maureen.
No, sorry. It's up from last time. Thanks.
Okay, sorry.
Oh, and I would just include, I know I'm working on the table, but I'm not a meal person, and some of those like the KPIs and indicators, if there is someone kind of with more of a meal background who could maybe help contribute to that table, that would be great.
Thank you. So we are opening it up to members. We have shared our emails over there. I think we'll also share in the discussion forum our emails as well, to open it up to anybody who wishes to join the working group. We'll also share again the work plan that we have until September, so that you have an overview of what to expect. And yeah. Thank you, Michelle. So here we're also reaching out to somebody with a male expertise to be able to contribute in the process. Okay, Christabel, you can take it over. You can continue to bring in your suggestions on how we can improve both the process of this development of the tool leading to September, but also any other resources that you have. Yeah. Christabel.
Yeah, thanks Farida for that. Okay, I also wanted to respond to Maria's concern on how to engage and sharing these materials. Whenever we send invites to the focus group members, we always attach some of the documents that they need to read, key being the guidance tool that you're working on and the asynchronous document that we have. So it will be in good time that you are able to review. So that's just something I wanted to emphasize, and thanks for asking that. And so, yeah, on how to engage in our discussion forum, because this is where we normally post our reminders for joining our COP meetings, monthly meetings. If there are any new resources, discussions, this is where we engage. And so how then do you join the Youth Power Community of Practice? So on your browser, www.youthpower.org, you'll find a tab as indicated on communities. And there you'll have to, before that, you'll just have to register if you are not registered. And then if you're registered, you'll have to log in every time you want to access any resource or materials from the forum. And then upon that, you'll go to the all discussions groups or community of practice. And from there is when you'll be able to now, there are a number of communities, but given that you are in youth engagement, you'll have to go precisely to the youth engagement community of practice. From there, you'll be able to now access the forum, connect with other members, share ideas, resources, and also just post any question that you may have into the discussion forum. And you'll always get a response from the CoP champions or also from other COP members. Yes. Yeah, and next slide, please. Yes, this is just an example on how you can engage on the discussion forum. You can click on the up there, you can click on add discussion. It will lead you to create discussion, and then you can post any comment that you have or any resource. You can link it up or embed it there, and our members will be able to respond to you. So that is it about our discussion forums and why you should engage and join. There are quite a number of resources that you can leverage on as a youth practitioner. And then you can also connect to the YP2LE social medias. Aside from our discussion forum, we also post other social events, gathering, dialogue forums on our social media platforms. So there you can connect with other young people, especially when it goes to the Youth League Global, and then also in the Youth Power Learning. As a designer, programmer, you can still leverage on that to access evidence and learning materials. So that is it from the YP2LE. And also that is it from us as the Youth Engagement Community of Practice. It has been great getting your feedback and discussions on how we can further improve the tool. And I really look forward to our next call, which will be our final call for our year 2. Hopefully year 3 will still be able to connect. So that is it. I'll hand it over to Farida to also say goodbye or kwaheri. Over to you, Farida.
Thank you, members. Yeah, I guess it's just like saying goodbye. But I think we also joined here with Judith, who we work with closely. I wonder if she has something to add. And if any other member has a closing remark, or feel free.
Really, I'm glad we've had this conversation, and appreciate, looking forward to the next call. Thank you so much. And thank you, members, for the contributions, especially the focus group. And we're inviting all the other members to join the focus group as well. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Judy. Bye, everyone. Good evening, good morning, and good afternoon.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for putting in the time to be with us. Goodbye.